I would like to actually, for all these people that say they're so safe and reversible and they're like a pause button, an 8-year-old kid should have them, like, why don't they try them?
Hey everyone, I am here with
Stephanie?
and we're going to talk today about your condition, endometriosis.
Yes.
And you also have some experience with puberty blockers.
Yes.
So it's going to be really interesting to hear your perspective as a cisgender woman.
Cisgender, right? Yeah.
As a regular woman.
As a woman.
Yeah. As a woman. What is your condition?
I have a condition, well, had, because it's technically cured, but endometriosis, which is a progressive disease of the womb, and essentially the lining that you would normally produce, you know, when you menstruate each month, it grows on the outside instead of the inside.
Oy.
And then it breaks open, it bleeds. It's an extremely painful condition, and it's hormonally based. A lot of women in the endometriosis community, because we have a disease that's based on our estrogen levels, we were put on hormone blockers to try to control those estrogen levels. So really the same drugs that are known as puberty blockers.
Yeah. So you would call it a negative reaction to estrogen?
My condition just, whatever triggers it, and they don't know, it's a really misunderstood disease. Like, you know, it's whatever triggers it, the estrogen feeds it. So in order for it to die off, you have to starve the body completely of estrogen.
Oof.
But the only way, you can't just like block one single hormone in your body. You have to block them all.
How long were you on puberty blockers?
In various times in my life, I was on hormone blocking treatment. Each time, I never lasted more than like a few months because of how bad my reactions were.
The side effects? Mm-hmm. And what are the side effects?
For me, I never even got to the worst physical because it was an immediate like mental health issue. I would have like the initial bad effects, like the severe night sweats and and sleep disturbances and insane insomnia. But what happened was I had immediate, like, severe, like, depressive symptoms arise, anxiety, and then on the last time that I was placed on blockers, I had psychotic issues and suicidal ideation for the first time in my life.
Wow.
Like, really severe, like, as in, like, thoughts I couldn't control.
Are the side effects you experienced normal?
They would say it was like an abnormal reaction, right? You know, and then they'd sell you all the happy stories. And then when I experienced this really strong reaction, I started getting onto like message boards and like wondering, does anyone experience this? Because of course, when you talk to people, like, you know, your doctor, they'll say, oh, that's not common.
Okay. Yeah.
And then when you when you actually talk to other people, you realize there's so many people like me. You know, why didn't anyone really fully tell me how serious the effects could be for my mental health? I was like screened for depression, but why didn't anyone tell me that, you know, these types of medications have had many people, you know, in database and reporting suicides and suicidal ideations?
I think most people, they don't think of puberty blockers as something that could affect the mental health in general. They only think of the physical changes.
And that's the problem. Yes, that's it. When you get put on these blockers, and it's what I assumed would happen as well. I was just trying to block my estrogen. And that's what I was told. You know, oh, this is going to block your estrogen so this disease will stop. And yes, you're going to experience maybe like a little bit of like hot flashes, blah, blah, blah. You just get talked about some of these physical things. I didn't understand the mechanism of action of these puberty blockers. I didn't understand that in order to block the estrogen, I essentially was chemically castrating myself. Chemical castration does not start, it's not just like a medication that just goes right to your ovaries and just shuts them down for a little bit. No. You know, and then when you stop, they come back up. To block your sex hormones, because you can't just block estrogen, you have to block all your sex hormones. You have to block it starting in the brain. And you have to block that signal in the brain that then goes to your pituitary gland, and then that pituitary gland that then communicates with the gonads. So it's called your hypothalamus pituitary gonad, and it's an axis. I've learned so much about how critical it is to keep that going for not just our physical health, but for our emotional and mental health and development, that it only makes sense that I had such extreme mental reactions to them. See, I get like emotional and shaky because I realize all these things that I was being exposed to and thinking it was helping me were causing mental health issues as well.
I mean, how does it feel to see people with not even mental conditions, because we're talking about children, so it's more like symptoms of a mental condition, be on the same medication that you were on because you had a physical condition. How does that feel?
It's like emotional. It's like I actually get sick to my stomach about it a lot. There's like times where I have to take big steps back from even like knowing about it. I can't believe it's happening. Like there's still a disconnect in my brain that it's even happening. It's so wild to me that you would try to tell any child that it's okay to stop puberty, which is like the most important biological process that our body goes through, and it helps solidify all the other functions in our body. Not only that of like breaking down your body, but it's an actual poison. I mean, this drug is a poison to your body. That's why so many women have bad reactions to it. The reason that I was put on it too, these types of drugs, is because I was, I didn't want to have the surgery right away because I wanted to preserve my fertility.
Yeah.
Well, then you talk to women who've been put on it and it still wrecked their fertility. It never came back. You talk to men who are on it for, cancer, and they never, ever, ever get their sexual function back.
I lost hair, my gums were bleeding, I fell into a really bad depression and bone issues, joint pain, and this has been going on for 20 years. It has not stopped.
So you got a hysterectomy. Yeah. Or you got multiple surgeries when it comes to that.
I had a hysterectomy and in like multiple phases, and I actually kept one ovary, knowing that there was a potential that I could still get like it back.
Okay.
Just because of how important it was for me to have some sort of like sexual hormones in my body, like not for those purposes, but like literally, like I could talk for days about how important it is to keep some form of sex hormones in your body.
Yeah.
But I eventually had to take that out as well, and that did end up technically curing it because I have no, I was chemically and surgically castrated. And people have trouble with me using that word, but that's what it is.
It is what
it's
it
not
is.
Sterilization. I was castrated because I have no gonads. I have no sex.
Yeah.
My body can no longer produce any sex hormones.
Right.
So I'm fully reliant on outside chemicals.
Yeah.
Never got to that. I think that full chemical castration with the medications I was on because of my severe mental reactions to it. So I feel like maybe my bad reaction that way saved me from...
Well, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a bad thing, though, but these are things that no one's talking about. Why is it bad for me to sit and speak out and say, I've had bad reactions to this medication?
The FDA's database currently lists more than 25,000 adverse events associated with Lupron, including suicidal thoughts, vision loss, and excruciating pain, even deaths.
That's on our own FDA site. And of those, there's 2,700 plus deaths related to just one of these medications.
That's crazy.
We're giving this to children for nothing more than like a mental and physical mismatch, and that we're pushing it in such an irresponsible way.
Puberty blockers are medications that will stop your body from changing. They are usually given as an injection or an implant. They block the production of hormones to stop or delay the physical changes of puberty. The effects of the medication are only temporary, so if a person stops using puberty blockers, the physical changes of puberty will begin again.
But how do you feel about the FDA actually putting out a warning label on puberty blockers? Don't you think that's great?
Oh, you mean like that these can actually harm you? Yeah, I mean, but where's that in the news? I feel like every time the story comes out of like, look at the European countries now, look at what's happening over, like they're banning them.
Yeah.
They're because they were ahead of us in prescribing them. So now wouldn't it make sense that now they're a few years ahead? Of course they are, of pulling back and saying, holy...
Yeah.
I think we might have messed this up.
I also think it's great that the FDA doesn't approve puberty blockers when it comes to gender dysphoric children. Like, that's a good thing. But what I don't understand is that why are we still giving them puberty blockers? We're doing it off-label.
It is off-label.
Yeah, it's not ethical to give drugs to physically healthy children,
That's what I don't understand, at all. Like, I can't even wrap my head around it. There seems to be this wild west in the medical world for transgender care, and nobody thinks that itself is transphobic, that itself is damaging. I think most people should have their alarm bells raised that there's so many people clamoring to get in this space, you know, to provide these services. Where were they before? Like if it was all about caring and, you know, and this and that, why is this all of a sudden just coming this way?
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the history of this drug that I won't say the name of, it starts with the men in the prostate cancer community.
Several patients have sued Lupron's maker, Takeda Abbott Pharmaceuticals, now known as AbbVie, and the FDA did require several changes to add more side effects to Lupron's label. But many say that is not enough.
People can look it up. They can look up the lawsuits where they were giving these gigantic 10-fold kickbacks to doctors to prescribe that medication to all of their prostate cancer patients. And they are estimating that the vast majority of them didn't even need it, because as soon as that lawsuit came and those kickbacks stopped, it was like a 70-some% decrease in prescriptions of that medication to prostate cancer patients. And I have talked to a lot of different staff members and people who are coming forward off record who worked in these urology clinics, and they said they used to hand it out like candy. And we have men to this day, their lives are ruined because they never got their sexual function back. And really, most of the time, prostate cancer was a slow-growing cancer, and men would have been just fine if they did other things. They did not need that medication. Now, that should show you that I'm afraid to even say the name of this, because every time I do, guess what? My stuff gets taken down, and I get, you know, attacked because they have their eyes on me because this drug has a really dirty history. This whole class of drugs does.
Actually didn't know about that, so that's crazy.
My experience was that it did not help at all. In fact, it just tanked my mental health. It tanked my sex drive. It tanked my energy levels, like everything. Like
yeah, it put you in like menopause.
Puts you in immediate menopause. I can tell you that there's not any feeling that I would ever wish like on my worst enemy. So these kids who are already dysphoric and have all this stuff, and then all of a sudden they have this unnatural state being pushed on their body. I can't imagine that anyone's coming out of this happier. Again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some success stories out there somewhere, but I just don't know anyone that had their brain literally shut down and came out saying, wow, that was good. All the effects were great. I feel great. I felt like I didn't even want to live or exist on this planet. I can't even imagine before a child even knows what it's like to grow up. To take that away. That's what you're doing. You're taking that away from them.
But it's really a lose-lose, because if these gender dysphoric children, if they're actually trans as adults, they have some complications with their sex drive, their fertility, their genitals, like the development of their genitals. If they're not trans, which most of these cases are, they're not, they would have a messed up, you know, body and mental health as well. So it's like a lose-lose. This is not going to help. No. In any way. I mean, I speak to pelvic floor therapists who have told me, essentially, you're guaranteeing that you're not even developing a proper pelvic floor. So, first of all, if you even want to take the sexuality out of it, which is like a huge thing. Yeah. You have an immature pelvic floor, which is going to cause so many problems. I mean, I can't even... Again, every one of these things, there's like, you could have an hour-long video on just each of the effects of this drug, and it would blow people's minds, but they don't want to hear it. No. You know, just from even having a hysterectomy. Yes. The complications that you've had. Even though I wasn't told the complication.
Even though you weren't told, why would you be told? I mean, you're just taking out a foundational organ in your body, but that's just yucky girl parts, right? That's like what they make it sound like. Like, let's yeet them all away, and
yeet the teats.
Yeet the teats.
Yeet the
we'll have to think of she should think of a catchphrase for that, but
it's really sick, and it's especially when it comes to children, it's not okay. It's just not. Because they're healthy children.
They're healthy kids. There's no reason that a child that does not have precocious puberty should be put on a drug that's going to stop and shut down their body, because I just am on the belief system, and you are too, that every human being, whether you're transgender or not, deserves to go through proper puberty, deserves to have that decision-making process available to them when they're an adult. Yeah. Not taken from them as a kid.
You can call it a human right to actually go through puberty. You'll never get it back.
You'll never get it back, and like you can't pause it and then just pick up with the next puberty. What happens is you're breaking down a part of the body, and other parts of your body are continuing to go on and try to function.
Yeah.
Well, the alarm bells are going off saying, what the actual hell's happening? We won't even know the problems that we're going to have.
I'm scared to see what the future brings us. Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate you letting me speak out, because there's so many people that just want to silence me. You know, they don't want to hear it because it's not this comfortable, happy truth being told to them. It's not someone saying,
the effects aren't currently understood to be 100% reversible.
Puberty blockers are safe and reversible.
Puberty blockers help their mental health as they mature.
That's all lies. That's all propaganda from the medical companies that are making so much money off this, because guess how much you make off label?
Yeah, exactly.
Guess how much you make when you have a drug go off label? Whatever the hell you want to make off of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when you do things off label, guess what you get? Guess what else you get to do? Make your own rules. And guess what else you get to do when you do things off label? You follow informed consent. And guess what informed consent means? Whatever the hell they want it to mean.
Yeah.
Do you understand that? Is whatever they want it to mean.
Children cannot consent, so it's bullshit.
Yeah, I would say that there's going to be a wave of kids probably coming forward and suing people soon.
Yeah, it's already happening.
You know, even after insurance, people are paying $4,000 or $5,000 out of pocket, and they're charging up to $37,000 per implant. When I was put on these medications, I was never allowed to be on them for more than 6 months at a time.
Right.
And I was only allowed to have them for, it was supposed to be a 12-month lifetime exposure. I have personally talked to people, and I know it for a fact, who have been put on puberty blockers for years.
Adults or children?
Children.
Oh my God.
Just like how testosterone, like when you're doing a shot, once you put that in, it's not like a pill that you took in the day, right?
No.
And then the next day, oh shoot, I don't want to, I made a mistake. You did that shot, and now it's working its way through your body, and I mean, it's going to be in there for a while. Yeah. These implants last for months, and these shots last for months.
Oh my God.
Like, do you understand? So you do that one that you just paid thousands and thousands of dollars for off label, and it's in your system for
a long time.
It is.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What are you doing now? You're doing some yoga that really helps with your condition and stuff like this.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
I'd been an instructor for years, and I'd found out like some of the stuff that I was doing just wasn't like working, and I was dealing with so much pain and cramping and shifting of things. So I've been developing a program to help like support the pelvic floor and lift things back up into place.
Awesome.
Which has helped me a lot, but you know, as you know, atrophy is like something that we struggle with.
It's a permanent condition.
It is a permanent condition.
I gave myself a permanent condition.
I knew that.
Yeah.
I mean, they told me that like I was like left the doctor's office with the cream, and they were like, this is like what you use.
You got a lot of information. I didn't get any information when I got the hysterectomy. Not a single, and I did it because of a mental condition. I did not have any physical issues with my body and my reproductive system. I didn't get told anything. The doctors, when they were done doing the surgery, they were just regular doctors, not the trans ones. And they're like, so what are you going to do now? Because we're not sure. We're used to put women on estrogen, but that's not your case. So what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. And then I talked to my trans doctor, and she was like, yeah, I heard from those surgeons. And I said, keep your hands off my patient. Like, she thought it was funny. And I'm like, I have no idea what to do. And you're making a joke out of it? Like,
it's not. Well, that's what annoys me when you're trying to put information like out there and people tell you you're transphobic.
Right.
Like, no, I actually care like about anybody,
health.
Like anyone's health. Think about how weird this is. Here I was a grown woman, already had kids, right? Already had and I had a disease of the uterus.
Right.
So I had like a really serious medical condition. I go through so much gatekeeping. Like I went through a lot of gatekeeping just to have a hysterectomy. And I had already, performed my womanly duty and had children with it, right? So
right.
like I went through all this, and I had so much information. I was like already planning to work with the pelvic floor therapist, like all these things told to me. And then I think the first time you and I talked, I started crying because I was like, I was pissed.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that your doctor just like, okay, ta-ta, like, you got it done, and
Yeah.
you're young and healthy, good to go. I'm sure they're kind of just focused on getting their new patients.
Yeah.
That should concern all of us if we actually care about trans health.
I would call it transphobic to not care about trans people's health.
Yeah, trust me, like, everyone's painting these things like it's this, like, transition is this magical, beautiful space. I've not transitioned, but I certainly know what it's like to be on these medications, and I
Right.
know what it's like to have these surgeries.
More than me. Like, I've never been on puberty blockers. Yeah.
I would like to actually, for all these people that say they're so safe and reversible and they're like a pause button, an 8-year-old kid should have them, like, why don't they try them? Do you know what I mean? Like, I would like,
That's a
I'd
good
like
point.
to issue a challenge. Any of you doctors, I mean, that like say it's fine,
We should give them. Yeah.
you should just do it once because it's okay, right?
But how are you feeling today?
I feel pretty good. I
Oh,
mean,
that's
but
good.
again, it's a huge journey. I have to do so much, and I was in the holistic health world to begin with, and I had all this stuff at my disposal to work on, and it was like a huge uphill battle to undo the damage. I will still have things for life. Like, my eyesight was permanently damaged, my thyroid was permanently damaged, and I'm on hormonal replacements. Like, I've upped my chances of developing dementia. I don't want people to be put on that path of medicalization, especially not a kid.
Healthy kids. Yeah.
Healthy kids. So, I mean,
It's brutal.
yeah,
But I'm glad that you're doing okay.
I am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And especially with the yoga, it's helping a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It
I'm not
is.
good
I
at
know.
yoga. I'm
Oh,
so
I
bad.
swear I'm gonna get you.
I'm so bad at stuff like that, but I know it's good for you.
It is good for you. I know. I used to fight it too.
Yeah. Awesome, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there any place people can find you?
Yeah,
or-
so I mean, sure, it'll be taken down soon. It's on suspension on and off,
wow.
but puberty blockers suck on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
I learn a lot from you, so that's
Oh,
awesome.
I learn a lot from you. I appreciate you being here. So glad you're here.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And bye, everybody.